All right, there we go. What's going on, y'all? It is a Rainy Storm checking in for the Mercury sign series. This is going to be the video about Mercury in the first house for all the Mercury in the first house people out there. I am your cosmic woodwork astrologer, a Rainy Storm crew, aka a Rainy Storm specializing in evolutionary astrology. So if you're interested in learning about your karmic past, your past lives, and as well as your current destiny in this life and mission and vision, definitely hit me up for a personal reading. At this current moment, I'm taking readings on a donation, tip base, and barter and trade. So you make sure you check those links down below. And all my information is there. So we're just gonna go ahead and hop right into Mercury in the first house. What is Mercury in the first house? Also, too, for those of y'all that are watching this video, if you're just learning along, my newsletter happened to not go out for the new moon in Capricorn. So hopefully by the new moon in February, this newsletter will happen to go out. Not really sure why it didn't go out the last time, but yeah, here we are. So without further ado, let's get into Mercury in the first house. So first, Mercury in the first house, people, depending on what Mercury is actually on your rising sign, this is where you see a Mercury person that's very intuitive, very in tune with the world that is going on around them. I know we could say the universe communicates with you, the trees and the grass and all these things do, but there's something about Mercury in the first house that's very attuned, very intuitive to how and which way that the universe is actually communicating directly. It kind of reminds me of I don't know why right now the Matrix is coming to me, but when Neo is talking to Morpheus, like at the beginning stages of, if you haven't seen The Matrix, you probably want to go watch The Matrix, but it's just, all you have to do is watch the beginning scene if you don't want to watch the whole thing. But the first Matrix, where Neo is first introduced to Morpheus, and he's basically letting him know, like, hey, you're basically manipulating your own personal reality. Like, what do you actually believe to be real? What do you actually believe to be true? And so that's what I think about when I think of Mercury in the first house. I also think about the gift of gab. Mercury in the first house is one of those people, usually they're able to kind of speak and talk their way out of anything, right? They're able to they're very persuasive. These are like the people who can negotiate something down. So if somebody's like, oh no, it's gonna be this much for, Mercury in first house is like, nah, cause you kind of what about $350? You know what I mean? It might be like $600 or something. For example, and Mercury in the first house is kind of like, why don't we, maybe $360 instead? People are like, I guess, Mercury in the first house, I guess you can do, $360 instead, kind of, sort of. Now, I know when we talk about Mercury, we talk about communication. So I didn't even say what, for those of y'all that's following on for the first time, so what is Mercury? Mercury is how you think, and Mercury is also how you communicate and receive information. So whatever your Mercury sign is, this is where you can usually also, too, it has to do with media as well. So this is where you can probably see how you communicate on the media. Mercury is also where you can see the type of things that you like to interact with on social media or just the media in general. But it really, I honestly think about it as the second sun. Mercury revolves around the sun. It's like Mercury is the messenger god of the sun. So it's kind of like, I would say it's like having a second sun sign, but it's more so of like your communication style here. So Mercury in the first house can definitely find it hard to sleep because, your first house is really like the physicality of the body, right? This is your structure of the body and things as well too fits here. So you can find that Mercury in the first house, you can have like a very restless mind. Sometimes it can be very hard for you to sleep because you probably just have so much going on in your mind, very cerebral sometimes. Just a lot of mental exhaustion of energy that's like going, you know what I mean? Like really going on. Also too, Mercury in the first house can definitely have a fast are faster, I would say, a faster metabolism as well. So you might notice, especially with Mercury being here, it's easy for you to, maybe you like to walk to a lot of places, or maybe you kind of like, you know, just kind of on the go. But also too, fast metabolism, meaning like maybe you drop a lot of, you know, just weight, you know, and things like that, just because you're always constantly, consistently moving and shaking and going over here, going over there, doing this over here, doing this over there. So you might find that your metabolism is a little bit more, like I said, once again, depending on the sign. So for example, if you have a Mercury in Taurus, not to say, now Mercury in Taurus, I will say, can be very physical, especially on the first house. It can be more physically inclined, especially because it has to do with the plants and the nature and greens. You could definitely see that. But, you know, Mercury for Taurus specifically, even though Taurus necessarily doesn't rule the hips per se, you know, this could be just be an energy where, because it's the bull, right? So it might be a little bit more, the structure of the body might be a little bit more endowed, if you will, you know, more hips, more curves, more body, you know, and things like that. So Sagittarius too, because Sagittarius rules the thighs. And things. But I'd say that because, you know, Mercury and Taurus, our Taurus energy loves to eat. It has a, you know, it's the Venusian energy of having its palate fixated, even if it's drinking something good, eating something good, you know what I'm saying? And even sometimes when it might be going through rough times, it could just be consistently wanting to put things to its mouth here. So that's what we could see definitely for Mercury in the first house. Also too, is able to take very complex information and break it down to a size. So if you've ever talked to a Mercury in the first house, they might have a theory about the way in which an atom is broken down into, I don't know, goddamn, or DNA is broken down to a science, you know what I mean? And so this complex thing being able to be communicated easier. I mean, unless you're a Mercury in Pisces, you might be a little all over the place right here, but for the most part, Mercury in the first house usually is able to use or to take complex ideas, complex streams of thought, and break it down to where other people can understand it very well. It would probably make an amazing teacher, especially if Mercury is aspected very well. You definitely want to check your own personal chart to see what that's looking like for you. And also, last but not least, just very intellectual. You know, and like I said, unless Mercury is afflicted or is just like aspected kind of crazy, usually it's one to like really want to start up a conversation, or with this outer world, a lot of people want to just have random conversations with you out of the blue, you know what I mean? That's something that you can definitely find with Mercury in the first house here. But that's all I have for this particular Mercury placement, and we're going to move on to Mercury in the second house, and we'll finish up this week with Mercury in the fourth house. So you already know what it is. It's already on checking in, checking out, without a doubt. And we are going to move on to the next. Like I said, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, comment. Also hit that notification bell so you know when I am dropping as well. And I will see y'all on the next video. All right, and we are out of here. Deuces.